Vapour Rise is a stalwart of the Rab collection. It was first introduced by none other than the Rab Carrington, simply because he was after a jacket that you could put on and keep on throughout the whole day without the need to take it off. The idea is that it will give you ultimate efficiency, both in terms of that time gained from not having to faff around with taking it on and off, but also in terms of the equilibrium it provided your own body, balancing out those highs and lows of whether or not you're too warm or too cold by pretty much being perfect all the time, or near enough. And the way it did that, and the way it still does this, is by having that wind-resistant outer and that fleecy liner, and the gap in between the two. Note the use of the word wind resistance as opposed to wind-proof as well, because airflow is key to the very core of what Vapour Rise is. You need that throughput of air in order to have that balance. But if you didn't have that fleecy liner, you'd get cold, and that's where the interplay between these two layers comes in. For autumn-winter 23, Rab have updated their Vapour Rise collection, and today we'll be covering the Ridgeline, the Alpine Light, and the Summit. Now, to save repetition, all three jackets use the same 20 denier Pertex Quantum Air outer. This is actually a bit more wind resistant than previous models, but due to the increase in technological advancement, still keeps a high degree of that breathability that made its predecessor, Pertex Quantum Equilibrium, just so special. The Ridgeline that I've got on here has a blend of Rab's Motive fabric and the VR, that's Vapour Rise, airflow material. Now, both of these are designed to absorb moisture and spread it across a wide area and get rid of it quickly. But it's body mapped, because the VR airflow is particularly good at that. That goes in those areas you're most likely to get sweaty, so underneath the arms, for instance. The Ridgeline has been designed with higher octane activities in mind, and it's pitched primarily towards runners. But, and there's a big but to this jacket is a supremely versatile piece, and the cut is absolutely fantastic. This would be something we'd happily use hill walking or scrambling. It's much, much more than a running jacket. Whilst the Alpine Light is definitely designed with climbers in mind, the Ridgeline would make an amazing jacket for climbing in on a spring or summer's day if you're on a cooler, north-facing mountain crag. Feature-wise, there isn't loads to mention. The Ridgeline doesn't come with a hood. It has elasticated cuffs, a simple draw cord elastication around the hem, and a Napoleon pocket which you can put toppos, snacks, whatever you wish inside of. The Alpine Light could be considered the Ridgeline's bigger brother or sister. Whereas the Ridgeline's designed with running in mind, the Alpine Light is designed with climbing and mountaineering in mind. But like the Ridgeline, I see no reason why this couldn't be used for the likes of walking, scrambling, or a whole range of other activities. Much like the Ridgeline, it features that Motive fabric on key areas where you want it to be that bit warmer, such as across the body, and then it uses the VR airflow throughout the areas where you're more likely to sweat, such as underneath the arms. Where the Alpine Light differs most is in terms of the features. Firstly, it has a two-way zip as opposed to the one-way of the Ridgeline, and whereas the Ridgeline has a single pocket, the Alpine Light has two. You'll notice these pockets are nice and high up, so they can still be used when you're using a harness. Finally, you have the hood. Now, this is designed to be worn underneath a helmet. It's a nice and snug fit with a subtle Velcro adjuster on the back if you do need to adjust volume. The hood itself is stiffened throughout the front as well, so that it doesn't flap about too much in the breeze. And finally, we have the Vapour Rise Summit. Now, this is the warmest in the collection by a fair margin, and it has a more jacket-like feel, whereas the Ridgeline and the Alpine Light have both quite an active, slim-fitting cut. This has a broader, more relaxed feel to it, and it's definitely oriented more towards your hill walkers and your mountaineers. On the inside, it features high loft VR warm. Now, this is a seriously fluffy fabric that helps keep that heat in. But as with the rest of the jackets within the collection, it's the fact that you've got that airflow pumping through the jacket means that it shouldn't be too warm. It's just right. When it comes to features, the Summit is the only one that features hand warmer pockets, and it also has the single Napoleon pocket to go alongside it. Unlike the other two within the collection, which feature elasticated cuffs, this features a Velcro cuff. So you can get a bit more adjustability when you are using gloves or not. And finally, it features a hood, but unlike the Alpine Light, this is an over-helmet hood. It has a much higher volume and also features that same deluxe VR warm fabric. This is something I could see you using whilst walking in the Scottish mountains in winter, or as a layering piece whilst winter climbing. A lot of this collection could be used as an outer layer, but could also be used as a mid layer as a part of a greater layering system. So between the three products in the Vapour Rise collection, there's something for everyone. Be that the Ridgeline for those who are looking for something a little lighter weight with a slimmer active cut, the Alpine Light, which is definitely skewed towards climbers and has the benefit of a hood in the worst weather, and finally the Summit for those who want that bit extra warmth for the mountains in winter. Each of the three jackets within this collection are all the sort of jacket that you'll buy and wear and very infrequently take off.